Yeah, so much, man. We mistake busyness for productivity. You know, like we're being so productive because we're busy all day long when we know that that's really not like what's going on. And it makes people feel good, I think, a lot of times to be busy. But in reality, it causes burnout. I mean, if you're not prioritizing your life, someone else will.
Yeah.
It could be the church. It could be your work. It could be another friend.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not honestly, setting down the priorities and the things that you want to be about, life will dictate that. So you have to be intentional about it.
Well, welcome to episode 33. Pastor Bishop Nate. How you doing, buddy?
33 is a good number.
33. I don't remember. It's been a while since I was 33.
It just feels like that is a special year.
It is. It is.
I don't know why, but it's a good year.
It is. It is. So with me, as always, is Nathan Bills, which I call Bishop today, and myself, Nate Kingsbury. And today we're really talking about a leadership focus, which is a interesting one, but it's called warning signs and just ways to get healthy. Mm-hmm. So I think this kind of will relate with everybody, just to kind of think through these different things. And so one of the first warning signs that we're kind of talking about is an acronym called HALT. You want to talk about that, Nate? Just to kind of go through those with us?
I think before too, I mean, you just kind of said it, but this isn't even as much just like a leadership principle. It does obviously apply to leaders. I mean, this is a life topic. This really is for everyone. And everyone in some kind of way leads. Yeah. Even though I think a lot of times people, if they're not a pastor of a church or the head of an organization or the manager at work, they don't believe that they actually lead others. Everybody leads. So it's really important, I think, for all of us. I looked up, John Maxwell obviously has a lot to say about this stuff. And he's got this quote that says, "A leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way." And that's in every aspect, including, recognizing the warning signs, including, being very intentional about being healthy. 'Cause you're not going to lead anybody where you aren't yourself. If you're unhealthy, it's not like those that are around you that you're trying to lead are going to be healthy. It's true. They're going to pay the price for that. So
there's that book called Emotional Healthy Church. Like it talks about like all areas of all boards, all parts of church has to be healthy so that the whole church will be healthy. And that when one of those are off, it actually affects everybody. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's true in some organizations as well. Like I think you can translate that into like business and go, so if there's health in your team, no matter what it is, if it's a church or an organization, whatever it is, it matters,
Yeah, and I think too, it's important to realize like the warning signs aren't always going to feel like super dramatic or dynamic. They can tend to sometimes just feel normal. What happens, I think, is they begin to creep in slowly. And then before you recognize it, you've gotten yourself into like real ill health or unhealthiness. Yeah. And so, I mean, that's why it's important to talk about this today.
That's good, man.
So getting into this HALT principle though, and I've heard you talk about this before. It really is a simple but powerful like self-check for people. The H deals with hungry, like your hunger level. And I think the first two kind of go hand in hand.
I was thinking that story in the Bible when Jacob was so hungry. Is it Jacob? Am I right on that? Yeah, and he gave up his birthright and it was all over hungry and he made a bad decision. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Right. That affected so much of his whole entire life because of that decision because he was just hungry.
Yeah. The H and the A should really be combined because... It was
actually Esau.
If you think about... You're right.
It was Esau. Yeah. There you go. My bad.
If you think about hungry and angry, you can be hangry, and those go together.
Yeah, it's true.
But when you're not taking care of really your basic needs, I mean, your need for food, what happens is your patience, your decision-making abilities really begin to drop. Yeah. And it's weird to think that food, like, your need to eat can have such an impact on your ability to lead, but it does because I think instead of like responding, what you tend to do is actually react to situations. Instead of responding in patience or grace, you react sometimes in anger, which kind of leads us to that second one. Just checking like your anger levels. Like how quickly do you become angry about things that really aren't probably even a big deal. But if you let certain things get in the way, other people are going to pay the price for it.
But it's crazy with anger too. Like people do things in their anger that they said they'd never do. You know what I mean? Like people have went to prison because they got angry. They hit somebody in a bar. They got in a fight. Someone hit their head on the bar. I've heard people just in fights, have to go to prison just because in a moment of anger they lost it. And we have to watch it. We really do.
Yeah, and then the L in HALT stands for lonely. And just recognizing that isolation, it's one of the most dangerous places, I would say, for leaders. I mean, we know that. I mean, we encourage everyone. It doesn't matter if you're like a top level leader or not. Like, we encourage everyone to stay out of, isolation. But what happens is when you're alone too long, I think what takes place is your perspective begins to shrink. Your perspective on life, your perspective on, maybe really what's going on in your life. You lose sight of, a proper perspective and keeping that, just in mind. So
it's crazy, but when people are alone and they're isolated, like it seems like it's almost impossible to get them out of it sometimes because sometimes I think they have got so comfortable in isolation that they've come more accustomed to it, that they feel more comfortable in that. And that's the scary part is when someone feels like they're okay in that isolation, but we have to understand how dangerous that isolation is. We really do.
Yeah. And then the last letter, T, in the word HALT is for tired. Recognizing that fatigue really affects everything. I mean, when you're tired, it affects everything. I put down a couple notes here. Obviously, it affects your mood, your clarity, your leadership. And also the reason why I think we're so tired, often is we're rushing. We just constantly are rushing places. When that's the case, like your mind never really gets shut off, like has the ability to get turned off. I looked this up. Research from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Nate, actually shows that chronic sleep deprivation, so not just like missing an hour or two, tomorrow or tonight, but chronic, like consistent sleep deprivation impacts memory, emotional regulation, and decision making, which obviously are three big things that leaders need to, really be on point with. They rely heavily on. So sleep is really important.
I remember a while back, and I'm not afraid to like say this or whatever, but I was really struggling, like feeling like I would sleep for like hours and not feel like I slept at all. And I found out I had like sleep apnea. Do you know what I mean? Well, in that process, I felt like, honestly, like I was losing my mind, man, because I was like the reality is I'm not sleeping. So I went to the sleep test and they said, hey, you're not breathing very well at night. And they said, one, you got to lose weight, you know what I mean? Which we'll talk about later. And, that you got to be aware of that. So, and what I'm just saying is someone doesn't get good sleep, man, it affects everything in their life, like everything, so, but this is a good reminder, this HALT, you know what I mean, that people just need to be aware of. And it's a good thing to think, like, am I hungry? Is that a problem right now? Am I angry? Why am I angry? Am I lonely? Am I isolating? And am I tired? Those are warning signs for each of us as leaders.
So if things aren't feeling right, those would be like 4 good checks. Like, when's the last time you ate? Are you angry about something like you said? Are you lonely or are you tired? And if any of those is what might be off, then you need to give special attention to that. So
here's another warning signs that I put down. We call these the 3 G's, but it's like warning signs for like leaders. Like, so the first G is glory. So in other words, it's about having pride. It's about the idea that, wow, I'm in charge of my organization and I'm the big stuff, and start thinking that. And as we know, as we look at scripture, pride is a major problem why Satan was tossed out of heaven because of his pride and the problems that he caused. And when we look at all that, we have to keep that in mind. So when somebody even on a Sunday morning or something will say, hey, great job with your message, I want to really be careful to never actually think that I'm a good communicator. You know what I mean? That I really have a humility about it. And even this past week, Wes talked about the importance of humility. We had a guest speaker this week, and that the opposite of pride is humility. Yeah. And leaders have to be very, very careful about the glory, about the pride, you know?
Yeah.
The second one is the girl. And if you're a girl, it might be the guy, like on the other side. But just being aware that those things, the temptation of the opposite sex, you have to be aware of as a leader, because it can put you in a bad situation. I mean, we have some rules. If just to let you know that we don't go in a car alone with a girl. Like, we don't want to give that idea that, hey, look at Pastor Nathan was with so-and-so in the car. We don't want that. So we're very, very careful. But just being aware that that can be a warning sign. Yeah. So we got the glory, we got the girl, and we got the gold. And just to make sure that our possessions, our money, those type of things, like, we're always careful too, Nate, about anybody that gives us like cash, or we're trying to get it in that box, or make sure someone's with us to go to the safe, because those kind of things can actually ruin someone's leadership and ministry. So, so I'm just going to say it again. Watch out for the glory, which is pride. Watch out for the girl, and watch out for the gold. Yeah. Those are good warning signs to kind of pastor and leader warning signs that I think are really good for people to be aware of. Yeah. So,
Well, next we're moving on to like some of the ministry landmines, you call them. Yeah. You know, some different kinds of traps that they may not even look that dangerous at first, but over time, you know, they add up, and they can really affect the ability of a leader if you don't keep some of these things, you know, really under control. The first one you listed, just being all things to all people. Knowing that that's not even possible. Yeah. And yet, you know, it often comes from a good place. Like it starts in a good place. You have good intentions. You want to help, you want to serve, you want to be available for everybody. But of course, I mean, it doesn't take long, and you begin to realize that's not sustainable. Yeah. I mean, it can go on for a few years, but at some point it's going to catch up to you. And it's something to really be aware of.
I think another thing, you know, that scripture that says, you know, are you going to honor God or are you going to honor people? You know, it kind of goes with that a little bit. I think in that we honor people so much that we're not honoring God, and that when we're trying to be all things to all people, we're giving into that more than we're giving into what God's maybe commanding us to do. I don't know if you agree with that, but
I mean, I do, of course. Yeah. That's a passage that, you know, at a time when I really needed to get this area in control, like under control in my leadership, that was a verse that somebody shared with me that really, like, I've clinged to. Galatians 1:10. For am I now seeking the approval of man or of God? It's a great question. Or am I trying to please man? If I were still trying to please man, I would not be a servant of Christ. You can't be both. You can't please man and be a servant of Christ. And that's key. I mean, too, I think, and I know you've said this to me, I've said this to you, it's so important as leaders, beyond, I mean, maybe as pastors for us, but as leaders, to even recognize that Jesus himself had boundaries.
He did.
It wasn't like, you know, there were actually crowds that Jesus didn't go to. Yeah. I mean, there were. Like, he would withdraw. There were needs
get alone to pray, go in solitude. Yeah. Like, you'd seen that all the time. He even told his disciples, like, you stay here, I'm going to go.
There were needs that Jesus didn't meet at that exact moment. And yet, for some reason, like in our humanness and our flesh, you know, when we want to be all things to all people, be available all the time, like we just run to it, you know, rather than really considering, is that really what we should do right now in this moment? Can it wait? You know, these are big things, but
I think it's important to be able to say, like, with people, I can't do that right now. You know what I mean? That I, you know, and even I'm just going to say this, and I've improved in this, but like really letting people know, well, like Thursday nights is my family night. You know what I mean? Like, I can't be there for you, and not feel bad about those type of things, but just understand that, so I do think it is. So
somebody told me this. Let me share this real quick. And I typed it because sometimes I forget it, but it says you can't say yes to everything without eventually saying no to what matters most.
That's good.
So go on saying yes, but at some point you're going to end up missing out on the things that you really should be about or the things that matter most in your life.
And I say to my kids sometimes, like, it's okay to say no. Like, because I think that, they're going to want to say yes. They want to serve people. They want to, but to let them know that you would say no at times is a good thing to actually do in your life. And when I see people that are always like volunteering and all that, I'm like, I even said to my wife the other night, I was like, man, you are doing some incredible things, but even some of the good things you have to say no to, because just to have balance and, things like that. So
the more you say yes to, the more it dilutes your impact.
Yeah.
Because you only have so much time in a day, in a week. The more that you're saying yes to, the more that you're giving your time, your energy, your resources to, the less effective you're going to be kind of all around. And that could be with your family, that could be in your job, that could be in friendships. But it is important to know how to say no.
And we have to be careful with that. Sometimes there's a lot of good things, like, sometimes you have maybe a side hustle or something that you're doing, but if it affects what you're currently doing and where your purpose is, you got to be really aware of that. Sure. I agree with you on that. Yeah. Let me go to number 2, and this one's a different one on landmines, but it's extra grace required people. And this one's kind of a hard one, but
did Wes just say this on Sunday?
He kind of did a little bit. I think he did.
EGR people.
He did.
I thought I picked up on that.
But it's like just being aware, like, that we got to care for people, but there's sometimes people that will suck you dry, and you have to, it goes back to what you said about those boundaries of just really being careful, that landmine of like, hey, I remember there's a lady in our office who said, it's really good that when people want to meet with you, that they set up a time instead of just opening up the office. Well, you and I are like, have pastor's heart. So we're always like, oh, our office is always open to anybody. But that idea of some of those boundaries to put in place and to be aware that, one thing someone said to me too, and I don't want to talk too much here, but they said, sometimes you have to put yourself around the right people too, on who's giving you life and who's sucking you dry. And I was like, well, man, like, I want to be there for everybody, but the reality is I have to think that way, and it doesn't mean that we don't show grace to these type of people. We still open our life up to them, but it really does go back to having that boundary put in place.
Yeah. Yeah. These are people that they require, I wouldn't even call it steal, but they require more energy and more grace than what they give back to you.
Yeah.
And there's just those kind of people. And just because you're that person like today doesn't mean that's the same person you are next month. I mean, there's certain times where people are going through certain things and they just require more of you at that time.
Yeah.
But it is important. We know the danger isn't that person. The danger is not having boundaries to protect what's going on actually at that time.
That's a good one. How about the third one, Nate?
The third one we've got called You Can't Be You.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is just the idea of, when you feel like you have to perform or like put on a mask, maybe, what it does is it leads to like emotional exhaustion. Like you always feel like you have to put on this face. You always feel like you have to be something for someone else. And it's emotionally exhausting. I mean, you may be able to carry that weight for a day or two or a week, but the more consistent you become not being actually who you are, the more you're going to end up like falling into a landmine, really.
Yeah, it's funny. I've seen some pastor friends of ours that were a certain way in college, and then they became a pastor, and it's like they changed into the role that they were given. And I would always see that being kind of a dangerous, because it's not who they are. They, even like myself, like I love to laugh. I love to crack jokes. I love to, but the more that I don't have that part of my everyday life of having fun, then I'm not being who I am. So like I have to work in the church, or if I ever work in an organization where it's fun, it's who I am.
Yeah.
But if I'm not going to laugh and have that way in the organization, then I'm not being who I am. So there's no joy in it. And I think a lot of guys, they just change themselves, or ladies change themselves to fit into the role that they are. And there's a certain part where, I remember when I was in North Carolina, in that context, like you wore a suit jacket on Sunday morning. So you'd have to morph into that a little bit. You'd have to, but it doesn't mean just because you wear a jacket, you're going to change who you are. So I just think it's really something we have to be aware.
When's the last time that you stuck your head in the toilet?
It's been a long time, dude.
Yeah.
You're really going to do that right now? Really? Unbelievable.
I mean, but truly, that is like, you're fun.
Yeah.
And you do have to be. You can be a lead pastor and be fun.
Yeah.
Understanding that there's certain times where you got to be more serious, but you know, I'll never forget when you did that and you're like, I can't do that. I'm not supposed to do that. I'm a lead pastor.
It falls into that youth pastor mindset back in the day, and then you got to change. So there is a part you have to, just to be on that part, because it is true. There's a part that you have to change as a leader, but the core of who you are, you can't change. You have to be, you gotta. So yeah, that's really good.
What we know, Nate, like what you know as far as like knowledge, who you know, maybe as far as people, that matters. But what matters most is who you are and staying consistent with who you are. Because in reality, constantly trying to pretend to be someone else. Maybe it's like these people that you were just referencing. You're going to eventually feel so disconnected from who you actually are, like who you're wired to be. So it's important to be who you are.
Yeah, I agree. Let me give you number 4 is overcommitted is a ministry landmine. So you can be doing too much and burnout is coming. So we see this a lot, and I get nervous about people in the church that are volunteering in like 8 or 9 ministries or something, where I'm always like, hey, you need to like let go of one of those ministries, because you can do it. Like I said with my wife, you can do a lot of really good things, do a lot of things, but all of a sudden when you're overcommitted, you're burned out. And it does scare me within the church world sometimes. And even I look at myself, I'm leaving to go on a sabbatical eventually. And it's like, I've probably said yes to too many things, you know what I mean? And I need to take some time to actually evaluate and step back from it. So we do have to be very, very careful, and not just us as leaders or as people in organizations, but the people that volunteer for things and are always busy, but still like are just overcommitted, and they don't have any margin to even be with Jesus. They don't have any time to really invest in their family. They're doing a lot of good things, but they're missing out on some of the best things that can happen when they just spend that time with the Lord. So so
much, man. We mistake busyness for productivity. You know, like we're being so productive because we're busy all day long, when we know that that's really not like what's going on. And it makes people feel good, I think, a lot of times to be busy. But in reality, it causes burnout. I mean, if you're not prioritizing your life, someone else will. Yeah. It could be the church. It could be your work. It could be another friend. Yeah. I mean, if you're not honestly, setting down the priorities and the things that you want to be about, life will dictate that. So you have to be intentional about it.
When you look at that too, it's like even, I remember one time my wife told me, she goes, you can do all these things and you're so committed and you got all these things you're doing, but we just want your time. Do you know what I mean? So I do think we have to really watch that. What's number 5, Nate?
Number 5, doing ministry alone, really, self-reliant, being independent. Ministry leadership was never meant to be done alone. Yeah. I mean, it really wasn't. Even if you're the top of the top, you have to have people that you're leading with, that are, you're leading alongside. Just because I think when we were talking about it a little bit ago, isolation, what it does is it leads to like blind spots in your life. You're not recognizing, or somebody else isn't pointing out the blind spots. Maybe it can lead to, discouragement if you're not around people who can encourage you as a leader. And then eventually I think too, it'll just lead to burnout. If you're trying to lead in isolation, it's going to lead to burnout.
So we're going to shift it a little bit right now, Nate, just to kind of change it from these warning signs, but really now talking about like, how do you get healthy? You know, how
I'm
do you
scared
step
to talk about
I know, but how do you step into it? These next ones are hilarious because I don't think we do the best of these next ones, but we're going to get, so as we say these, just so you know, we realize we have a lot of improvement.
We don't have these perfected.
Yeah, that's true. So these are called life-giving resources, and one is people, is we must have life-giving friendships. We need people inside and outside the church that just kind of pour into it.
Like skip over the three before that? The three ways to care for yourself?
I actually did. I went to the wrong section, Nate.
You're intentionally skipping over.
All right, 3 ways to take care of yourself.
Let's go back. Yeah, let's talk about that, and then we'll talk about these other ones, because I think it is good, the order that you have. It's important to understand. But these 3 ways to take care of yourself, they sound simple.
They do.
And yet we don't have them perfected.
Yeah.
And we know it's consciously, intentionally trying to work on these things. These are the things I think that leaders often like neglect first.
Yeah.
Things like sleep.
Yep.
Sleep is not optional. It's really foundational if you're going to be a good leader.
And they actually say, too, when it comes to sleep, they say the best time is like 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning, like to have a scheduled set time that you stick to.
Yeah.
And like they say that's significant. Yeah. So they say when you mess up your sleep pattern, too, it affects everything. Yeah. And that one's a weird one for me because, you know, I'll go to bed later on like a Friday or whatever, and then I would on a Thursday, but it will really throw you off.
Dude, you're still like a kid that got out of school on a Friday. You can't wait till stay up late. Oh, yeah,
man. I can't wait. I watch a movie with my kids or something.
I'm on the other side. I'm like, oh, man, I can't wait to go to bed.
Yeah. But then you take sleep and you look at somebody who has a problem with sleep sometimes.
Yeah,
like,
that can be,
it's going to really mess up. And I always feel bad when people say it, but sleep is an important way to take care of yourself. So
they recommend, like you were saying, from 10 to 6. So anywhere between 7 and 9 hours of sleep is good. Yeah. I mean, it really is. And some people need more than that. Yeah. I mean, they just do.
I think Elon Musk says he gets 4 hours.
I just can't.
He said
can't even
he's
imagine
most
how
productive. If it's just interesting.
That's so strange.
How in the world can you function? You know, but
yeah, I heard this quote and I typed it here. Rest is not a reward for finishing the work, which I think we think that like we want to get through the day because we feel like our reward is rest. But rest is not a reward for finishing the work. It's a requirement to do the work well. Yeah, so when you rest, what you're really doing is you're preparing yourself for the work that's ahead. Mm-hmm. It's not a reward for, grinding it out, throughout the day, which I think sometimes, I tend to like have that backwards. I'm like, oh, it's been a long day. I can't wait to sleep. I earned this. I deserve this. And yet what you're really doing is you're preparing yourself for what's going to come tomorrow. Yeah. So
I always look at sleep too as you're actually repairing your body for the day. Like when you sleep, it's making everything work and function properly. Like you need it to get through the day. So like if you don't sleep, like it affects everything in your life. So
your attitude, your decision-making skills. Oh yeah, totally.
The second one, I get that one. Second one is passion. So you have to ask, actually I'm going to the wrong part again. There we go. The next one is exercise. It's important. And it like stops stress in your life when you exercise. And I do agree with that, dude, because I find out when I am on the treadmill or I am working on my bike, like I'm not as stressed. You know what I mean? So my daughter does a really good job, and my oldest boy on just working out every day. They do, and they really say I'm less stressed because I work out. But that's a hard one to have the time to actually exercise, to be able to get into that is really, really challenging.
I think the thing is because we have something in our minds that exercise is. I mean, exercise could just be like a short daily movement, and that can actually change your mindset. But I think in our minds, we're like, you have to go to the gym. You have to put in a certain amount of time, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, whatever it is. And that can seem overwhelming. And that's, I mean, if I'm honest, that's probably why I don't do it. Like you feel like you have to have all this time rather than just getting up and moving your body, making movements. But they say that regular exercise can reduce symptoms of things like anxiety, depression, by up to 30 to 40% if you exercise regularly. Yeah. So it's key. It's important, man.
It is. It's something that, I don't do great on it, but there is little alarms that come on my phone at a certain time to remind me to walk. You know, I know it sounds weird, but at 12:30, my alarm goes off and it says, listen to a podcast and walk in the gym because I'm just moving. It's not like I'm running. It's not like I'm lifting weights, but just getting some steps in instead of sitting behind the desk, and then another alarm goes off at like about 5:30 that just says to run outside. So do I always do it? No, I don't. I don't always do it. But when it comes off, it gets me a few runs in that week that reminds me to do it. I wish I could say every time it rang, I'm actually going out and running or jogging, but I'm not. But if it's ringing every day, 7 days, and I get 3 in, that's pretty good, So it's just trying, because I know how much it matters to get that kind of exercise.
Our bodies are the place where we have to live.
Yeah.
We have to take care of it.
Yeah.
And I say that as I'm looking in the mirror, like, I got to do a better job with it. Yeah. But honestly, as leaders, you have to prioritize that.
But both you and I do good jobs at certain times on that, but then we fall back in. And I think that's what's hard about it when it comes to eating and to exercise. Like, we do good at times, Nate, but then we fall back into the habit of, hey, we stopped exercising, we started eating again. And the third one is you got to eat right. Yeah. So, and they always talk about it, even when they talk about losing weight, everybody thinks, well, if I work out, it's really about what you eat. Like what you put in your body is where most of the weight loss comes, but, we have to eat right, and it matters, so.
And I think that's one of the other things that, we fall off on, quickest because of busyness, because, it can get complicated to try to eat healthy rather than, eating a bag of, Buc-ee's beaver nuggets or something. We should eat, a healthier snack. But truly it is. It's what you eat affects how you feel. I mean, we know that. Yeah. And for as much as you know that, like when you have a choice, you usually choose the other way, but you got to get into like a rhythm, into a habit. And once you've made that decision over and over again, I think on a consistent and a basis, that's just what your body actually wants more than it wants the bad stuff.
I don't even know if this even needs to be said, but when I think about ice cream, for example, I love it, but it messes my whole stomach up. You know what I mean? Like that dairy and stuff. So I'm sick because of the outcome of me choosing to eat that. So like if us understand my whole day is ruined because I just drank milk. You know what I mean? So with the ice cream. So I do think we have to be aware, even if you like it and you have that desire, and you have to be very, very wise of the stuff that you put on your body, and it really does matter. So, yeah.
All right, now we can go to the life-giving resources.
Yes, man. I can't believe I messed it up. It's because I'm using my computer today, man. Yeah, I usually use my paper, but life-giving resources is people. We must have life-giving friendships. We need people in our life. And I think sometimes when I say this, I want to be careful, but sometimes, you get hurt with people. You know what I mean? You start trusting and then you get let down. You know what I mean? But the reality is, if you don't have people in your life, our life needs people. We need to be around people. We need to laugh with people. We need to interact with people. We can't live in isolation, but we need people inside the church or inside your organization, but you also need people outside the organization. And I was thinking about this a lot. Like sometimes when I get around people outside of the organization or outside of the church, I feel like I'm even can be more like myself sometimes because they're not in our day to day. You know what I mean? And I think it's important to have those life-giving friendships in both areas,
Yeah, because I mean, friends and people, they refresh us, they challenge us, they encourage us, they spur us on. Yeah. I mean, that's what friends are really there to do. But just like people and just being around people in general, you get like this energy just from like being in crowds or groups of people. I mean, I do at least. I know not everybody loves to be like in big crowds of people, but it's a beautiful thing, man. To just be able to like be in connection, relationship, engaging other people. Yeah. Jim Rohn, he said, and I'm sure you've heard this before, and maybe there's other people that have said it too, but you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So it's important as well to think about who you're spending the most time with. Yeah. I mean, sometimes your work might dictate that,
Yeah.
But then when you have the choice, who is it that you're running to?
Yeah.
I mean, are these people that are doing those things, refreshing you, challenging you, spurring you on, encouraging you? Because it's really important. Who people are is what, that's the kind of life they're giving you, is who these people are.
Yeah.
So you got to think through that stuff.
That's good. The other one that we put down as life-giving resources is your passion. What brings passion out of you? And even, put this down, but make a list of what you like to do. Make a list of what is fun to you. And I think I think sometimes, I even had a guy come up to me. It's going to go to the next one a little bit, but he lost the idea of what his passion was. He lost the idea what his purpose was. And he's really been struggling because he's like, what is my purpose? What is my passions? And sometimes we have to rediscover that, you know what I mean? And we have to, and I like the one that said, put a list of what is fun to you. Because I do think as life gets busy, man, and as we have kids and we have responsibilities, we forget what was fun to us. We forget the passion of what made us laugh or what we like to do, you know? I used to love to play basketball all the time. Well, I'm getting older now. I'm not as great at it anymore. Not as fast. Lost that first step.
Now you're more of a pickleball player.
Yeah, now I'm a pickleball player, but I just still don't have time for that as much. But what is your passion and what brings passion to you is very, very important.
When we try to lead without passion, dude, it really what it becomes is like more of an obligation.
Yeah.
It's like you're leading out of obligation, not out of passion. And there's no excitement in that.
Yeah.
I mean, there really isn't. I heard this before, and it went something like, don't ask what the world needs from you. Ask what, makes you come alive. And then out of that, give that to the world. Like, that's what you can bring to the world are the things that like make you alive or bring passion out of you. So, I mean, that's what the world needs from us.
It's true,
like,
man.
The world doesn't just need another, body, sucking oxygen. It's like whatever our passions are, that's what we can actually bring to the world. Yeah. So
the third,
and I think too, that's definitely what's going to fuel longevity in people. Whether you're talking about ministry or career, if you're passionate about what you do, you're going to be able to do it for the long haul.
Yeah.
When you lack that passion or that excitement, for whatever it is that you go to on a daily basis, you're not going to be able to be consistent enough, like over the long haul, to do it. Either you are and you're going to be miserable, or you are and you're going to be alive. So.
Yeah, that's good, man. The other one, number 3, is purpose. Really looking at your life and say, what brings you purpose? And I think everybody needs purpose. And I think when they don't have purpose, they don't know how to handle that situation. So, like I said, that buddy of mine recently just said, man, I just don't feel like I have purpose right now. I'm really struggling. Well, I had to remind him that he does have purpose and the impact that he's making in so many different people, that the purpose is sometimes we can't even see how we're making an impact or what we're doing, or that we do have purpose. And sometimes we have to be people that call that out in the people that we see this purpose. But really having purpose is a life-giving resource. So, so it's important.
And I think we try to remind people, like often, I would say even from the stage, like, if you're alive, then God's not done with you. Like, you have a purpose. And even if your purpose isn't still to go to whatever that job was that, maybe you had for 40 years before you retired, there's a new purpose. And your purpose is never really just like what signs the paycheck, or like what gives you the paycheck. There's another kind of purpose that God has for you. But purpose, it really comes down to, that's what keeps you grounded when things are hard.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't know what your purpose is, then when things are, hard, you're going to lose sight of really everything in the world. And I can't remember who the guy is that said this, but it came to mind earlier. And this guy says, working hard for something we don't care about is called stress. But working hard for something we love is called passion and purpose. And if you work hard for something that you really don't care about, but that's what, how you got hired is to do this, you're just, it's going to be a stress.
Yeah.
But if you're working hard for that and it's like a part of your purpose, you're going to find passion.
The hard part is when people like become retired You know, they had purpose in their job, they had purpose in what they did, and then now all of a sudden they're retired and they're trying to figure out, well, what is my purpose? What is the plan that God has for me? Yeah. So it is really, really hard, that whole purpose thing. Like, I worry about when people get retired, is just what is their purpose? But it is a chance to find out the new purpose that God has for you, to find out like what those passions are, to find out, okay, who are these people I'm going to hang out with that is going to bring life into me and be this resource, you know?
And that was that conversation. I mean, if people wanted to go back and listen to the time when we interviewed your father-in-law, Pastor Ben, I mean, you know, that was something that he was trying to figure out, or that he had to figure out when ministry, like formal ministry in a church, kind of wrapped up for him and he retired. Like, what was it going to be that, you know, was going to be his new purpose? And
it took him a while to find that, you know what I mean? But I do think those are things. So this next section is just really, I don't even know if it's really a title that I could give this, but it's really talking about how we need certain groups of people in our life. And the one that we talk about is, if there was a triangle, it would actually say crowds, friends, community, and your person. And just to kind of go through this, we can talk a little bit about it, but the crowds are surface level. We all need acquaintances. We need people that we just interact with, you know, that we talk with, that we joke with, and like it's important for us, you know. But then there's like those friends, which are like almost like when we look at the 12 disciples, you know what I mean, that are people that you have deep connections with, or people you go a lot deeper with than you would the acquaintances or the crowd. They're willing, like, I look at this as like, I have a small group and I meet with our small group, and I'm in deeper conversations because I know them a little more than the acquaintances that might happen sometimes even on a Sunday, even though I love everybody on a Sunday. Right. These are people that I'm engaging in. And then there's the community, which is the three, where Jesus had Peter, James, and John, you know, but this is a place where there's no fears. You can talk about difficult stuff, awesome moments. You feel easy when you're around them, and you can be honest about what those kind of struggles are. Yeah. The hard part is, a lot of times people have the crowd, you know, the acquaintances, and they might have like some friends that would say like this group, but a lot of people don't have those three that they could really pour. And then the last one is your person, the one, a person that you can be extremely real with. You vacation and do life with these people. You count on them and they count on you. And it's like, you know, I was thinking of this other day that really, if you have one good friend, what a blessing it is. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes we think we have to have, but no matter how many, even one friend or three friends, what a blessing it is, you know? Yeah.
True friends.
So, so I think it's really important to look at, you know, our acquaintances, we need them, our friendships, like the groups, the 12, the community, the three, and then the one. And Jesus did that with Peter as the number one. And it's interesting, you know, it's a concept that Jesus showed to us, but it's also, it's something that we need to really do in our life as well. So
yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Would you want to move on to the conclusion, or?
I'm gonna, but I do want to say this too. You know, I found this really interesting. One guy said, who are your 6 pallbearers? You know, I was thinking about that. Like, who are those people when you would die that you would want to carry your casket? You know, you'd pretty much say that. I know it sounds kind of morbid.
Are you going to be available?
Yeah. I don't know, man. You'll probably outlive me. But anyway, but you know, you're going to definitely have your kids or whatever that would want to carry your casket. But like, if there was 7, so you're going to,
covers it.
Yeah. But if it's going to be like friends, like, who would those people be? You know? And I was thinking that the other day a little bit, like, do I have 6?
Would I be one for you? Or no?
You would.
Okay,
you know that already. Okay. I think you know that well. But when you look at that, it makes you think a little bit. It makes you really evaluate, who are those people in my life? And I think it's important to think that through. But the conclusion is, really, if you take all this and you put it together, number one, and these are just 4 foundations of growth, is you have to have physical energy, where you have that exercise, and your diet and your sleep has to be a part of you. Yep. You have an intellectual growth, and I found this very interesting, Nate, but your brain needs new growth. And they even talk about learning new things and spending 15 minutes a day just to work on your intellect and the growth in your mind. And I don't think we think that way much.
Imagine if you could say at the end of every day that you're going to bed smarter than when you woke up. I mean, that's like the whole, then like you have to find time in your day to be challenged, like mentally, in your brain. And that could be through a podcast, that could be through dialogue, conversation with somebody else. But I mean, imagine if every day you went to bed, not with knowledge or head knowledge just for the sake of head knowledge, but to continue to, keep your brain, keep your mental, really in a healthy place, like active, not, stagnant. Because I think if we just get into the groove of life and we go one day to the next without really trying to like push ourselves intellectually, one day becomes a month and then it becomes a year, and we're like by this time next year we might be farther behind intellectually than we are like today.
I think it's important to read. I think it's important to learn something new. I was thinking the other day, like someone, my father-in-law a while back picked up like a guitar, you know what I mean? He started learning how to play guitar, and just something different that just really allows you to expand your brain and learn. I think it's important. The next one is spiritual clarity, which means really you have time that you're in silence, you're being still, you're asking God for clarity and direction and for the rest of your life, and really just spending this time, and the importance of having that time, that foundation to really grow and set a time. Like when you look at that part where I have an appointment with the Lord and I keep it, it's a significant time where you're able to really focus on those things with the Lord.
And you're not going to find clarity in the midst of noise. I mean, and is it really possible to be in complete silence? I mean, some people are afraid of it. But if you want clarity, you have to find still. You have to find peace. You have to find, a quiet space where God can really like speak to you. I think it was Dallas Willard that actually said that hurry is the great enemy of spiritual life. Like the more that we're in a hurry, the more that our spiritual life is actually going to pay for it. And we're not going to find clarity. So
it is crazy. I remember one time I just went out in my backyard, and, I have some acres behind, and it's in Ray area, and it's a little better, but
back by your pigs.
Yeah, by my pigs. But I remember I just quieted myself and just let myself listen. And I heard things that I've never heard before, like different animals, insects, stuff. But in that quiet place is where I really believe that you will really hear from the Lord. So it's significant. The last one is relational, the connection. You need an inner circle, people that you can count on, that you can go to, that you can talk about when you're struggling, and to share those things, but the sad thing is a lot of people don't have those people, and it's so needed that we have some people that we can really confide in, that we can go to. It's very, very significant. So
and that's what you need, like you said, is you need people who know you, not just know you because of what you do. And that could be as like a pastor, it could be whatever your career might be, but people who have permission to speak into your life. And that doesn't mean it's always going to be easy when they're speaking into your life, but it is important to have people who are kind of recognizing those those like blind spots that you're not aware of, and you trust them enough and you respect them enough to allow those people to have like that relationship with you to speak into your life. So
that's good, man.
Yeah. Well, let's close this down.
Sounds good.
Next week, I know we're interviewing, I think, Richard Silva.
It's going to be a really good one too, Nate, because his story, like some of the stuff that he's fighting against, he's fighting a little bit with cancer right now that he's been up against, but his whole story of being in the military and some of his just real life interactions that he's had, and to share. One time he shared a little bit in church, and I was so like moved by him. So him and his wife is actually going to come in too. They're gonna come and share and a little bit of their story and from her perspective as well too. So it's going to be a great podcast. Yeah, really good.
And as always, be sure to check out, if you're from Stoney Church, if you're a part of this church, make sure you know what's coming up in the life of the church. We got some great events coming up, and Also, if you're from this community and you don't have a local church that you connect to, we'd love to invite them to be a part of this church. We have services at 9 and 11 a.m. on Sunday morning. And our services, man, lately, God has really been
really
showing
good.
up. And yeah, we're excited about what God's doing here.
A lot of new people too. It's crazy. Like people I've never seen before just showing up.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of churches are growing right now. I hear that from others, but it's been amazing to see some of the way that God's been working. It's been awesome.
Yeah. People getting saved is, it's been great. So, and then always, please share this podcast. If you're encouraged by anything that we've said today, we'd love to have you share this. We're on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. And we'd love to get this out there and just to encourage people. That's why we do this. I mean, that's why we do what we do. So, but yeah, it's been a good conversation.
It is, man. You got to pray for us, Nate. I usually pray, and then you got to pray this time, all right, buddy?
Okay.
All right,
let's pray. Lord, we thank you for this day. And God, we thank you for this conversation today. And I do pray that for every person that might hear this, whether they really look at themselves as a leader or not, it doesn't mean you have to be in the head chair or the top position. Lord, we know that all of us have people that look up to us and that we lead, whether it be, intentionally or, with purpose, or if it's just, by chance, like there's people that are looking at us as we live our lives. Lord, help us to live intentionally. Help us to lead with purpose and passion. God, help us to take seriously some of these things that we've talked about. Even as we've kind of joked today, Lord, I pray you'd help Nate and I both, Lord, to, get a handle on, some of these different areas. If there's struggle, Lord, to really, make it a point to not allow these landmines, these warning signs to go unnoticed. Lord, continue to bless this podcast as we, put this out there to try to encourage people right where they're at. Lord, I pray that those that hear this would be encouraged today. And we just pray your blessings over each and every person. And we thank you and we praise you. And it's in your name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. We're so glad that you're here.
If this message spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself, but share it with a friend and help grow our podcast community.
We'd love to see you this Sunday at Stoney Church, services at 9 or 11 a.m.
We're dropping the next episode next Wednesday at 12 noon.
Hit subscribe so you don't miss it.
Join us then, and until next time, stay inspired.
And see you soon.